Okay, the YouTube feed is live. Yeah. So, hey Kevin, how you doing? Kayla, what's going on? I see.
Good.
Hey, Steven, what's going on? Hannah's there. Richard's there. Hey, Jackie, how you doing? Really glad to see all you tonight. I know it's kind of on the later side. Um, hey, Jennifer, how you doing? Um, just remember, anything that's really worth watching on TV is worth DVRing tonight. That's the only thing I could say. Um, had that conversation with Kayla a little bit ago. So hey, how you doing, Jackie? So yeah, as I said, we're going to be going here in just a minute, and also we are available on YouTube. Go ahead and take a look at my Facebook feed for that YouTube feed. Rich, man, Richard, you and I need to get together. It's only been about 25, 27 years since we've seen each other last. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Chris, I've got a question.
Yes, you have a question.
Can I put you on my headphones or would that screw everything up?
You can put me on. You can put me on headphones if you want. That will not screw up anything. I'm only not on headphones so other people can hear.
Oh, so much better.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm ready. I hate speakers on laptops. They're so
I understand that. All right. Hey, Jill. All right. That's my last shout out until we get started here. And we are going to begin now.
All right. Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning into another episode of Behind the Ears Podcast. You are now listening to the live episode. This is episode number 22. I am your host, Uncle Danny. Alongside of me is Mr. Chris. Chris, how are we doing on this late evening?
Oh, I am doing absolutely fine. I am doing absolutely fabulous. And I think one of the neatest parts about what we do here is that there is never a dull moment. I mean, if it's not a technical fun thing to deal with, it's the fact that I can't figure out where my camera is. Hi, how are you doing? But tonight we got a really special episode going on for you. We are actually broadcasting live both on YouTube and through Facebook. And we're really excited to have everybody with us. And thank you so much for continuing to listen and watch. But our special episode is going to seem just a little bit different. It's a little bit it's going to seem a little like we're going to talk about the unmagical part of typical vacation. And let me give you a little bit of an idea, Danny, of why I think this is actually an interesting topic for us to go over tonight. As I'm sure all of our listeners know, Disney finally just got over the dealings and aftermath of Hurricane Matthew. And that was a really pretty solid hurricane that went through that particular area. Fortunately, for Central Florida, where Walt Disney World and the other theme parks were located, it did not necessarily have the impact that it did, even though it was still a very, very strong and significant storm. There were a lot of people that were, a lot of guests that were very, very upset over everything that was going on. And to some extent, we can definitely understand that. There are also even times, even now, I saw some different comments on Facebook about people who are there right now, guests that are there right now, and they seem to have, certain types of issues. Now, I consider myself something of a problem solver. I know that I tend to think of things relatively, a couple steps ahead. And I know that Disney, while they do everything in their power to try to make the most magical experience for every last one of their guests, crap happens. Put it plain and simple. There's sometimes that things are just not so magical. Let me give you a little bit of an example from something I saw on Facebook. Someone had a really bad experience at Whispering Canyon Cafe over at the Wilderness Lodge tonight. And, it seems like at a place that was, really well known for their rowdiness and the big shtick at the Whispering Canyon Cafe. They just said they didn't experience that, even though they tried to be in character with other guests. And so the thing is that they're saying, who do we talk to? Well, that's a great question. And and oh, by the way, they did say their food and everything was top notch. It was just that the service wasn't as good as they hoped it to be. And I've had those experiences before. In fact, one time we had a really bad just overall experience at 50s primetime. And it was one of those things where the food just wasn't really all that great. I mean, it was cooked and everything else like that, but it wasn't all that great. The service, we spent over 2 hours at 50s primetime. 2 hours.
Yeah, that's too much time at 50s primetime.
That's about an hour too long, because a typical table service restaurant experience is about an hour and 10 minutes max, unless you're at one of the signature dining, and that's going to take a little bit longer. If you're at California Grill or even Victoria and Albert's, I mean, you're expecting multiple hours. I think the last meal I had at California Grill is almost 3 hours. But it also included fireworks in the middle. I'll give you that.
Okay, that eats up some time.
It does eat up some time, but it's still a part of the experience, in my opinion. So that's kind of the interesting part. But the thing is that sometimes you just have to talk to a manager. Now, here, one of the rookie mistakes is that if something goes wrong, you have people that say, I'm already home and I had some really bad experiences. What do I do? Well, you wait until next time, because while Disney does, respond to guest interactions and issues, you really kind of have to talk to a manager while it's fresh, while it's going on. And I can almost guarantee you they're going to do something about it. So with that said, Danny, have you ever had like a dining experience? We'll start off with a dining experience that you thought just was completely inadequate.
Oh, my goodness.
Where do you start? Is that where you're thinking?
Yeah, I've had a few. I'm going to say the big one is definitely Coral Reef over in Epcot, by the restaurant Coral Reef. Okay. So, all right, we walked in and my sister had her wedding reception there, but it was downstairs. So this was the first time we ever ate at the restaurant. So we walk in and I thought it was really neat because obviously you all know, I'm going to harp on it again, my favorite character is Buzz Lightyear. Well, they had a Buzz Lightyear drink and happened to be paired with it was an Ariel the Mermaid drink. My girlfriend at the time, her name was Ariel. So I was like, oh, wow, this is just going to be a good night. So I'm from the Northeast. I'm from Jersey. I like my Italian food. I know my Italian food. So the waiter comes up to me and I wanted to get something special and it said ragu in it. So I had just asked him politely. I said, hey guys, listen, I'm just curious. When it says ragu, does that come like right out of the can or is it homemade, gravy? I call it gravy. Some people call it sauce, whatever you want to look at it. He got so offended that I asked him that. He's like, no, we don't serve anything out of the can. So I took his word for bond. I was like, okay, then this is going to be pretty good. Disney usually knocks things out of the park when it comes to food. Well, lo and behold, they bring it out, and trust me, I know when it's fake gravy or fake sauce, and it was. So I asked him nicely. I said, listen, this is just not what I thought it was going to be. Is there any way I can send it back? And he gave me the biggest problem about sending it back. And at that point, I was like, okay, I don't want to be this guy, but can I talk to your manager? And the manager came over, and I was like, listen, I'm not asking for a free meal. I'm not asking you to, I just want to change it. It could be comparable price. I'm not looking for a free meal. Like, I just want to eat something different. I'm here to eat, and I'm hungry. The manager was definitely, a little more understanding than the waiter was. But I was very surprised by that. Like, that was such poor service. And like, maybe the guy didn't realize that it was, out of a can, whatever the case was. But like I said, the manager was great. He was just so not understanding on like what I wanted to do. And I was like, well, okay. I mean, but I told the manager what I wanted, and they ended up comping the bill. And, I told him I didn't want that happening. So the bill was like $110, something along the lines of that. So normally 20% tip would have been roughly $20. Even though I didn't like the guy, I didn't want to shortchange him. I left him $40. Just to be like, you know what? Okay, listen, maybe you didn't know. Maybe you were just having a bad day. Things happen. I was in the restaurant industry for most of my life. I get it. So, but definitely open up your mouth. Don't wait until the next time, because then the next time you just become another disgruntled guest that people just think you're looking to get something free out of the deal.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, and I think you touched on something that I'm glad you touched on, because I think this is one thing that makes sense. If you have a bad serving experience, that's when, definitely you say something, but then also I think it kind of shows up in the tip that you leave as well. I mean, tipping is supposed to improve performance, is what I've been told it kind of stands for. And, if you have a really bad server, then, I'm not going to tip 20%. I'm not going to tip 18%. I probably won't do less than 15%, but you're not going to get the 20 or 22% that I sometimes leave. But, then again, if the food is bad, but the service is fantastic, I'm not going to ding the server for something that happened in the back room.
Absolutely.
That's not fair to them. At the same time, I think I kind of share your feeling. I don't. The interesting part is that the story I told about Primetime, they did comp our meal. Well, it was dining credits.
Okay.
The problem of it is that we didn't get those dining credits back until the next day when we were getting ready to leave.
Ooh.
So, did it really work out in our favor, or, at least, that sort of thing? Not really. But I will say that the manager there was very attentive. He tried to make things right. And we appreciate it. We weren't looking for anything. And my wife I was taking care of the kids at the time. My wife was the one that actually spoke with the manager. The manager was very nice, tried to see what we wanted. She's like, I don't want anything. He goes, well, I'm going to comp your meal anyway. I said, okay, great. Not a problem. And then probably the second time, which actually happened not too long ago, is that we had a meal at Garden Grill. And I love Garden Grill. I love the food there. The food's so good, so fresh, anything
Is
to
that
get.
That's an Epcot, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's in the Land Pavilion.
I thought so.
And it's wonderful, it's a character meal. It's family style. It's all you care to consume.
You almost don't even realize it's there either.
No, you really kind of don't,
because they have the cafeteria downstairs. Sort of.
That's true. They have
service.
They have Sunshine Seasons there.
Yes.
So we're eating our meal, and they have this They had a wonderful dessert. It was kind of like an apple cranberry crisp type of cobbler-ish type of dessert, and it had some really nice whipped cream on it on top. Oh gosh, my mouth is watering just thinking about it. And so I go to take I'm eating, and I had a small serving on my plate. And I go and I take a bite. Oh, good. Take another bite. And I felt like in my mouth, I felt like if it was a tough piece of cranberry skin or something like that. Okay. But then I realized, wait a second. This isn't right. Hold on a second. This finally pull out my mouth. A piece of plastic.
It happens though.
It happens, and so I put it aside. I'm like, oh boy. And we all kind of just stopped, and I signaled to our server at the time, and I said, hey, can I'm not trying to start anything. I go, I found this in the dessert. And he goes, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I go, it's not a problem. He goes, can I get you anything else? I go, no, to be honest, we're pretty much done with our meal. I just wanted to let you know so that you can have whatever needs to be taken care of in the back taken care of, so a guest doesn't get hurt. I go, I don't have an issue, no issues whatsoever, just for your own safety. And he goes, okay. And he goes, would you like to see the manager? I said, no, I have no reason to see the manager. I'm still perfectly happy with our meal. You've been great as a server, so on and so forth. He goes, okay. Sure enough, a couple minutes later, the manager comes over and says, oh, you know what? We heard what happened. I'm really sorry. Is there anything I can get you? I said, no. I go, I'm not looking for anything. He goes, are you sure? I said, no. I just want to make sure that whatever, something obviously happened. I just want to make sure that a guest does not get hurt. Someone swallows this or cuts their mouth or whatever. I mean, something might have happened. Not a big deal. Just, obviously very attentive and very nice. I'm kind of rushing through the story for story's sake. But, the key is let cast members know. when something goes wrong, so that they can take care of it for the guest's sake. If they want to comp you something for it, hey, graciously accept it. I always find that you're probably going to get comped on something, more so if you're really nice about it instead of being demanding. Let the magic happen. Be a good guest. I know everybody, and there are probably some guests that are thinking, well, we pay a lot of money to go to Disney. Actually, I should not have to worry about this. And you know what? In a way, you're right. I absolutely agree. The quality should be way up there. But I always find that if you handle this situation with grace and poise, and that good things will happen to come out of it, regardless. So we actually have a couple of comments here really quick on our Facebook page, really quick. Richard says he's actually watching us on his TV through YouTube on Blu-ray. Awesome. Thank you. Jill also mentioned if nothing's said, the behavior issue, etc., can't be addressed. They may proceed without even knowing, and the power, without the powers of being knowing, and that there are opportunities for improvement. Absolutely. And that's the biggest thing. I won't know if I've done something wrong unless someone tells me. And this is the same for cast members. Jackie also says, love Garden Grill. Yeah, I still love it. I still want to go there again. It's just I think it's a great restaurant to go to. Yeah. And Jill also continues by saying that, she's sure that Disney would like to make the opportunity to make it right, whatever that is. So I totally get it. And also Jackie's husband, Ben, is listening while driving. And not watching. So, Ben, please be careful going home tonight. And so that's all good. You were going to say, Danny, I'm really sorry. I think I walked over you, and I apologize.
It's fine. I don't like that mindset of, I paid a lot of money to go to Disney. This shouldn't happen. Yeah. I get it. Disney's expensive. So is going to a lot of other places. You have to remember, human error is going to happen whether you pay $1 for your meal or you pay $1,000 for your meal. It's still human error. I'm not excusing what happened, but at the same time, Disney, they're going to try and do the best they can possibly do, and in the quickest amount of time. They are trying to shuffle hundreds to thousands of people in and out of a restaurant. They want quick turnover rates. Right. So once again, I'm not excusing it, but coming from the restaurant industry, when you're moving quickly, things do happen. So like I said, I'm not condoning what happened. They definitely need to be more careful because once again, it's not it's a safety issue. You swallow that and it makes it all the way down. It's going to tear things on its way down. It's going to cut you up. No one wants that to happen.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't want to spend time at the Celebration Hospital. As simple as that. I think that would be a real bummer. But yeah, I mean, and again, you just got to let people know what's going on. I'm going to tell you another story going away from the restaurant bit for itself. I know sometimes you have to interact with cast members, not because there's something wrong with your experience, but you're seeing something that needs to be addressed. I've got to tell this story. I've been dying to tell this story over the past several podcasts. And not because I think I want to embarrass anybody, because no one's going to know who this person is. I don't even know this person. We were in line for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And we didn't have fast passes, so it was about a 30-minute wait, which really is a short wait for Seven Dwarfs. And we're going through the queue, and it's kind of a hot day, and so on like that. And we're kind of just winding through. And there is a dad with a young son behind us. And we're kind of standing there, going through the line. And, as you kind of turned a corner, he kind of managed to get in front of us. Okay, no big deal. Whatever. So, mind you, we're almost to the beginning of the line, and we noticed that they kind of disappeared. And right before we got to the cast member, asking, how many are in your party, etc., my wife kind of leans over to me and says, that guy, that dad just let his son pee over by the garbage can.
Oh no.
And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. She's like, no, I'm dead serious. And so she went to the cast member that was right there, and she goes, I have to tell you this, but there were, a little boy urinated over by the garbage can. And the cast member was like, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding. I mean, you could tell she was trying to, keep the magical face, but she's like, okay, thank you for letting us know. So we go ahead and we get on the ride and go through the ride, have a great time. Awesome ride, by the way. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I don't care what you say. That is a fun ride. And so all of a sudden, we walked past and where the young boy did his thing, and there was a cast member there, standing there, keeping people from walking over there, and there was a towel on the ground, obviously to take care of things. And my wife went over to the cast member and said, thank you very much for taking care of it. And the cast member really kind of calmly and coolly and collected, like, oh, I'm sorry, take care of what? I'm not sure I know what you're referring to. So it was so classic, so classic Disney cast member trying to, not break the magic for anybody. And I will tell you that they did a fantastic job trying to maintain maintain the magic in a bad situation for other guests, right? And so, my wife had a very brief conversation with that cast member, and it was one of those cases where, my wife's like, we were the one that saw it happen and reported it, and she goes, well, thank you very much for doing so. And it was very nice, and she goes, I'm just going to stand here until, mousekeeping comes and
no fast pass out of it, nothing.
No, we weren't looking for anything. That wasn't the point. The fact of the matter is, I surely didn't want some other guest to slip in it, or fall on it. I'd just be like, no.
Listen, I don't have kids, so I'm not going to pretend like I'm a parent expert. But I mean, after a while, don't you have to just know that you need to get off that line and take your kid to the bathroom?
Well, there was a rule since my son came along after we started going to Disney for our main vacations. We kind of had a rule. The fact of the matter is that you always, try to do bathroom breaks every hour and a half or so. Before there's a longer wait, you try to make sure, hey, do you need to use the restroom? Let's go ahead and use the restroom now. Kind of do that sort of thing. To be very honest, it's one of those cases where, what can you tell? What can you say?
Yeah, when nature calls, nature calls.
Nature calls, and we always had our own personal guide that when something happens like that, it just we'll split up.
Yeah,
one will take take somebody to the restroom, and but that's just us. I know that there are people. This is maybe they had a certain circumstance and didn't necessarily allow them. I get it, I do, but the whole relieving yourself in public is just not appropriate. So, the thing is that there it is. It was not necessarily, I didn't say it ruined my experience. No, I'm not necessarily going down that path, but I am saying that it could have been bad for somebody. We told the cast member, we didn't make a big deal out of it. We tried to be very discreet about it to not interrupt the magic for anybody else. And, just let it be. That type of thing. Just let it go. Talk to somebody. They'll take care of it. I know that there are other examples of guests impacting the magic. It happens. I think it's harder for cast members to control that. Cutting in line is one thing that's just so hard to deal with. And I know that I could actually rant on a whole show on a single Mr. Chris only episode on bad guest tricks, but I won't do that. Just not here right now. But I will say, that's as an example. I don't know if you have something kind of a similar horror story.
All right. I mean, I don't have a bathroom issue, anything like that in my story, but I got okay. So my last trip down there, we were walking through Epcot. We had a few drinks in us. It's okay. We're all of age, and we're walking through, and we decided to stop into Mexico Pavilion, one of my favorite pavilions. And I had remembered that they redid the Three Amigos, Three
Yes.
Muchachos, something, whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
The three caballeros.
That's what it was.
I can't pronounce it.
No, I just mumble that word because I can't say it. I'll be honest. So
or as
anyway,
we like to refer to it as the boat ride in
yes,
Mexico.
that's what I call it all the time. The boat in Mexico. Anyway, so we get on, and it's got to be like 11 o'clock at night. So everything's getting ready to wind down. Anyway, maybe it was like 10ish. We were one of the only people, literally, we were the only people in that line to get on. So we get on the boat, we're cruising through, and we're coming up to the end, and we realize, oh my God, there's a log jam. Do they not realize that we're still on this ride and they're shutting it down? So we wait a few minutes and we inch up a couple inches, and we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden we make the last bend around the turn, and we see the young lady standing at the podium. And, she gets on the loudspeaker and she goes, "I'm sorry, guys, just please stay seated. The ride broke down." Now, mind you, I am literally right next to the platform. I am 2 boats away from like where the actual line to get on and off is. So we're sitting there, we're relaxing. I'm on my phone. We're doing Facebook, catching up on all the news of the day. And about 15 minutes goes by. And I'm like, well, I need to get off this ride. I need to go get a margarita before they close. So I look at my ex at the time. I look at my girlfriend at the time, and I say, "All right, we're gonna get off this boat." And she's like, "We're gonna get in trouble." I'm like, just nonchalantly get off the boat. And as we're about to get off the boat, we get bumped from behind. It's another couple that's sitting behind us, and they're like, "Are you guys getting off?" We're like, "Yeah, we can't wait anymore." So we actually got off in the middle, basically the end of the ride, but we got off and we walked away. The cast member is laughing because she's caught in that awkward position, like she's telling us to get back in the boat and not stand up, but we're already like 10 feet from our boat walking away. And the manager came over, and he was PO'd that we got off at me. Yeah, me and her. And granted, I'm 100% in the wrong. I got off the boat when I wasn't supposed to. The ride wasn't over. So I tried not to give him any lip, but it was the first time in Disney where I don't want to say he got in my face, but he was awfully close to me, and he was talking very loud. And I looked at him, I was like, "Dude, I've been sitting over there for 20 minutes. I'm not going to sit there when I can physically get off the ride." We weren't in the middle. Like, we didn't cause harm to anybody. The people behind us got off. So we just got off and walked away. Now, I didn't get my margarita because, he kind of followed us to the exit of the building to make sure that, I didn't say a word to him, I just tried to keep my mouth shut. No, I'm Italian. I'm a hot-headed man. If you take me out of Disney, oh no, I'm arguing back with you right then and there. I'm 6'1". I'm a big guy. I have a big burly beard. I'm ready to go. And it was the first time in my life I was like, I'm going to bite my tongue because I realized I was 110% in the wrong. But I've been in those situations where we all have, where a ride breaks down or has to stop for whatever reason. And it's always the worst. I don't mind it in the middle of the ride. I hate when you're right at the end. You can see where you have to get off. You're the next boat or next car, or dune buggy, whatever you're in. You're the next, and you just have to sit there and wait. Well, guess what? That ride doesn't have seatbelt restrictions. So I got off the ride.
I can understand that,
I was wrong. I admit it. I even said the guy.
At least you
I'm wrong. Oh, yeah, I knew 100% I was in the wrong.
Yeah, at least you admit it, and you're like, well, one of these people like, I deserve to get off the ride. I was going through emotional distress because I was listening to It's a Small World for 45 minutes. Oh, wait, that probably is justifiable, though.
That is justifiable. That's when you just start swimming back.
Yeah, I hate to say it. That happened to us again. It happened to us, like, in fact, I think it was this last trip. It may have been before, where we got stuck on Small World, kind of waiting, and it's like at the very end, and you're like, oh man, you're about really just crazy from the song already, and you're about, okay, we're gonna get into silence away from the song, and then you're stuck, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is my own personal purgatory hell. So
it's so bad.
Kathy wants to remind you, Danny. And yes, this is my wife, Kathy, saying no disco dancing. That's what the sign says. No disco dancing.
That's true.
Stay seated at times. Keep your hands and feet inside the ride vehicle at all times. I'm sure I'm going to hear more about this later. So
I'm telling Kathy right now because I've got you on like 5 different screens right now. And I'm watching you on my phone. Kathy needs to calm it down a little bit.
I'm sure I'm going to hear something due to the delay. If I hear a knock at the door, I'm not hoping. I'll tell you that right now. Oh yeah, the joy of stuff. Jackie says she was stuck on Carousel of Progress for 30 minutes and it wouldn't move. Well, I guess the question of it is that Carousel of Progress for 30 minutes. I guess it wouldn't be bad unless you saw the same scene over and over and over again. But then you get 30 minutes of singing "It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow."
It's a great big beautiful tomorrow. No, are you kidding me? Air conditioning and those comfy seats.
Oh, serious.
All right. Let's do it this way. Would you prefer to get stuck on Carousel of Progress or the Jamboree?
The Country Bear Jamboree?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Carousel of Progress.
Exactly, because those seats in the Country Bear Jamboree are so uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Nancy mentions, hey, Danny, you mentioned something about not liking the attitude of I've paid a lot of money at Disney, so shouldn't be experiencing this. But what about when something wrong goes at a Disney hotel? See more. Oh wait, hold on a second.
Oh yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me see that.
Especially she says, and especially a deluxe. Well, Nancy, I'm gonna word it to you this way. Are we talking like there's mold on the ceiling or bed bugs or someone left like dirty underwear in the bathroom? Because at that point, okay, I can understand. If it becomes that, I mean, I'm going to almost contradict myself with the statement, but if it becomes a health issue, that's one thing. But I mean, if check-in is supposed to be at 3, but they're just mobbed, maybe a couple people called out and they weren't available. Maybe you don't check in till 6. I've literally heard people walk in and be, I've paid such and such $600 a night. I should be checking into my room. Well, I understand that. I'm frustrated too. I mean, when I went to Universal, check-in was at 1 and I didn't check in until 8 o'clock that night. Is it a pain in the butt? Yes. But if you're going down to Disney, you should be prepared for that to always happen. That's my philosophy. I pack for that day in my carry-on bag because it can happen.
Oh yeah, and I would say that even it happens at deluxe hotels, it happens at the value hotels, it happens at moderate hotels. Before Disney went 100% non-smoking in all the resort hotels. Yeah, this goes back quite a while. My daughter has some pretty good, allergies, including, smoke-induced asthma type of thing. And we asked for obviously a non-smoking room, and we were at the beach club, and so we walked into the room, and it was not a non-smoking room, but it was kind of like a smoking optional room, which means it's not designated as a smoking room, it's not designated as a non-smoking room, and it still lingered with smoke. And I can tell right now we were only there for we're going to be there for a couple nights, and it was going to be a bad deal. So my wife went down there and explained the situation, and they're like, not a problem. They moved us to another room. And that was kind of late at night. We knew this, but they still moved us to another room. So they were able to take care of things like that, and in the past, after that, especially after they did go to 100% non-smoking, we actually requested requested a never been smoked in room, or a room that has been recently deep cleaned. They've always been accommodating for something like that. So I will give you that.
Once again, it's a health reason though. So
absolutely. To continue, Nancy also mentioned, after years, I'm going to actually refresh this on my screen so I can go ahead and
I'll read it. After years of staying at moderate and value hotels, my first experience at Walt Disney World Deluxe Hotel, no hot water for 3 days and crazy loud jackhammering in the middle of the day with no communication, sad face. We did talk to management, but overall it was a great disappointment. Okay, right off the bat, no hot water. That is a major issue. It doesn't matter if you're staying in moderate, doesn't matter. No hot water is no hot water. That's unacceptable.
I mean, if you're in Europe, even hostels have hot water. I mean, it's as simple as that.
The jackhammering, listen, is it an inconvenience? Yes. Does Disney try to do a better job now as they have years ago, where they communicate with you and let you know, hey, this hotel or this area of the hotel is under refurbishment. Yes. Look at it this way. They have to do it they're not going to do it at 8 o'clock in the morning when people can still be sleeping. They're not going to do it at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night because people could be sleeping. They're doing it in the middle of the day when most people are going to be in the parks. Is it an inconvenience? Absolutely, it's an inconvenience. And I try to sometimes stay away from certain hotels, even if they're giving me a great deal, because there are times I take a break in the middle of the day to go take a nap. But
Yeah,
again,
yeah. Go ahead. I think you're good. You're hitting on what I was going to say. Go ahead.
they're only bettering the hotel, maybe not for the time you're there, but for maybe future guests or future times you get to go there. The hot water issue, 110%, I would be mad. And you know what? That doesn't matter if you paid $100 for the room, $500 for the room, or $1 for the room. No hot water is no hot water. And to let it go on for 3 days is very, very disturbing. The jackhammering part, it stinks, but that's just that's a pill that, I don't want to sound rude or anything, but that's just a pill you just have to swallow sometimes.
Well, the thing is about like the construction noises in the middle of the day. There is something to be said about that, especially if there's no communication. And the reason is that if you have young kids, and let's say they are more apt to taking a nap in the middle of the afternoon type of thing, they need a little bit of quiet time. Um, sometimes that's necessary. And if you're not really sure that you're going to have some really loud construction going on in the area that you're at, and Nancy said she was at the Wilderness Lodge. The thing is that as a parent, I can see where that would be a disappointment, especially if it's a lack of communication. I have to agree. Sometimes, I've been in hotels where they've had construction, and sometimes it's the luck of the draw. But I can see where that would be important for Disney to, up their communication, especially since they already know, they know that, who's coming into their hotel, what the ages of the guests are, and so on and so forth. There can be some anticipation there. I know it sounds like I'm saying, hey, Disney, go a little bit above and beyond over that. I'm not at that point, but from a planning perspective, as a parent of someone who had, many years ago had a young child that kind of needed those little midday breaks, it can be disappointing to realize you're at a Wilderness Lodge or something like that, and all of a sudden you hear jackhammers. I mean, I don't mind other things, but gosh, a jackhammer in the middle of the day, while my kid's trying to nap, yeah, that could be problematic. I'll be really honest with you, but yeah, I think oh wait, Nancy does clarify. It wasn't for construction. I believe it was to fix the hot water issue. Completely understandable, but it was disappointing. Her son was 18 months old at the time, and they're looking forward to a midday nap. But it's and Nancy's kind of agreeing with what I was saying. It's hard because I think we try to plan for our kids and what we know what the kids need. And sometimes there are just some things that management's not going to be able to control. I think they have gotten better at communicating construction issues, type of thing going on before guests show up. I know that there was a lot of communication went out to guests at the Polynesian as well as the Wilderness Lodge for a lot of the construction that was going to be going on. Mainly around like the DVC pool area versus like at the Poly when they were, redoing the DVC wings and the bungalows and things like that. They give people options to do different things. So that's good. And I think they've gotten better at it. But, obviously there are times where they have not done so well.
Oh no, absolutely. It's a total disappointment. It really is. And, like I said, I'm not a parent. I don't have an 18-month-old, but I like to take my naps. And that would, you can get cranky when you're in Disney. Just because you're in the most magical place in the world doesn't mean you don't get cranky. You're dealing with heat, people, lines. There are times you need that break. But I can understand and I can cope with the jackhammering a little bit more than I can with the hot water. The hot water, to me, that's... Seriously. Unacceptable. And to me, that's when I get angry, and that's when I'm at the front desk being like, day one, okay, you need to fix it. Day two, no. You're moving me. You're putting me in a different hotel. And if it's not done by day three, you're comping me because that's ridiculous. You need hot water. That is a common necessity in a day.
I'm thinking to myself, yeah. I mean, to me, there's basic necessities: a clean room, to have electricity in the room, clean running water, both hot and cold, and dare I even say, please let the TV work so I can understand what the weather's going to be like the next day. That's all I care about. But yeah, something like that it is pretty ridiculous. Um, speaking of hotels, I mean, I hear people. In fact, someone was saying that they had a couple bugs in their room. Hey, you know what? I'm not saying this being flippant. Bugs happen in Florida, and you can't always control them. And sometimes you just have to go to the front desk. Don't call the front desk. People don't realize when you call the front, press the button to call the front desk, you're not really calling the front desk. You're calling a call center. They'll still answer the phone, Boardwalk Hotel, but it's really, a centralized call center. Go walk over to the front desk and say, hey, listen, I need to speak with somebody. I have an issue. This is what my issue is. And I'd like to know what we can do about it. And I say we, because I always think it's kind of a partnership between guest and management. Just to see, what can be done. Because, obviously if there's like a bed bug type of thing, obviously I'd be like, I'd be totally complete panic. That's something, but love bugs and very similar type of things. You know what? It happens. And sometimes you just have to, I run the hell out of there if I saw a bed bug. I'll be really honest with you.
Oh yeah.
But anything else, it's like crap. Get it. You let them take care of it. And I'll say, hey, listen, get someone there to clean the room and have them do a deep cleaning in the room. We won't be back in the room until 6 or 7 o'clock at night. Just say we're giving you enough time to realize this has to be taken care of to my satisfaction. Now.
I would love to find the video. It's my sister standing at Port Orleans, and she's standing in the doorway, and she's in my room. They were staying at Grand Floridian. I didn't feel like paying for that, so we were at Port Orleans, and there's a video of me running across the courtyard, and everybody who watches, it's like, what is this kid doing? Why is he running around? I'm the guy that tries to catch the lizards. So what I do is I get a colony of them. I'll catch them and I'll hold on to them. And I run around. I try to catch some of them. And I'll sit like either in the room or outside the room and I'll play with them. Well, here's the problem. The one time I brought one in the room, it got away from me. I spent over an hour looking for this lizard. Never found it. So if anybody's in room 212 at Port Orleans and you find a body of a lizard, I apologize. That is my friend. I didn't mean to lose them in the room. So after that instance, I stopped bringing the lizards in the room with me.
Oh my god! I got tears running in my eyes. Oh my gosh! You win, hands down. You just
broke the internet.
You won. That's it. Episode's over, everybody. Because I don't know if we can top that. No, it's
my bad.
Yeah, I can see that. But in all seriousness, there's things that guests need to do. How many times have you heard stories about guests saying, can't you do something about the weather? Really?
Yes, control that.
I know that there were, especially like in the summertime, you have the near daily afternoon showers, and here's my take. You got to be prepared for it. And I think that's where groups like us help guests, prepare for things. We help prepare for the show because we've been there. We've done that. We've got the t-shirt quite literally. And, to try to help people understand, hey, listen, these are some of the things that you can do to make sure that your trip is absolutely the best it can possibly be. I'm a pure believer in the idea, kind of like what we talked about before. If you have issues, say something. But most importantly, be nice. Be nice about it.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
I know. And if my mom was here, she'd say, see, someone else believes that too. And she's right. And you're right.
Catch more bees with honey than you do vinegar. I can go on and on with these.
Really? I mean,
No, that's it. That's all I got too.
Okay. So, um, but it's just one of those things where, um, you as a guest, I think, have just as much responsibility for your own magic. Um, Now, when I say it like that, though, is something bad does happen or something really kind of screws things up. Let it roll off your shoulder. If you tell a cast member and they're going to help you out with it, if they're going to help you with making it right, and they want to comp you on something or do something magical for you, be gracious about it. I truly believe that those who don't look to be handed the magic will be given the magic, the Disney magic, to them in spades. I really truly believe that. Um, even if there's nothing wrong and you just simply talk to a cast member and be nice to a cast member. My wife has been given pin sets from cast members just because she would strike up conversations with them and just be really nice and friendly. More than one time we've had that happen to us. Again, if you expect to be handed it, it's not as magical. Just let it happen. Take care of the things when stuff happens. I mean, there are obviously things Disney can't handle. Disney can't help it when the airport closes down. Disney can't help it if your flight is delayed. Disney can't help the situation about the weather. But if you ask them for help, you're going to get help. And if you need to have them, if it's not helping you out, you are more than welcome to talk to a manager or a supervisor or a team leader. It's best to do it at the time that things are happening. And I know that at times I will separate myself from the group in order for them to continue to have fun. I'll take a few extra minutes to take care of a situation. Even if it's simple as, maybe something broke. Example, bought a really cool Goofy pen for my daughter. And it was about this, yay big. And it had a really cool tassel on it. And it's kind of funky looking pen. My daughter's a huge Goofy fan. And shortly after we got it, like within the first 30 minutes, all of a sudden it kind of just fell apart. So I took it back with the receipt to the place where we bought it. I think we bought it at the Emporium in Magic Kingdom. And I said, I just bought this. Can you help me? You mind if I get another one? Go right ahead. Go ahead, take your pick. Just, show me what you got and be on your way. I'll go, okay, fine. I didn't have to get mad or anything. I just went, took care of it like I would take care of it any other time. And, they just dealt with it really easily. They want you to have a good time. They want you to have a great experience. And sometimes you just have to realize that. So, Nancy, by the way, thank you, Nancy, for sticking around with us. Have a great night. We're going to be ending here soon. Feel free to catch the replay or the podcast later. So, but I mean, those are the kinds of things I would probably say, Danny. I
got one.
Oh yeah, what's up?
Disney transportation. Okay. First off, people, they have to pick you up 3 to 4 hours prior. If you're flying international, it has to be 4 hours. If it's flying domestic, they have to pick you up 3 hours before. I know the common rule is be at the airport 2 hours before your flight. Yes. Look at it this way. If they pick you up an hour and a half before the flight, say, and they get you there, and for some reason your flight left early and you missed your flight, who are you blaming? You're blaming Disney. So all they're doing is covering their own end by picking you up 3 hours early. Does it stink sitting at the airport for that extra hour and a half that you probably normally wouldn't sit there if you drove yourself? Yes, but you have to understand how many people they are driving to the airport on a daily basis. God forbid if there's an accident on I-4, whatever the case is, you have to be mindful of Disney's covering their own end. It's almost like an insurance policy, so you don't miss your flight.
Well, actually, the thing is that 3 hours leaving the resorts 3 hours ahead of time is just enough time. And because anybody who's gone through Orlando International Airport, you are dealing with tons and tons and tons of people who have never flown before, or I should say have very little TSA experience. And so they are going to have questions. They are going to not necessarily know all the different procedures. They're not necessarily going to understand all the different little nuances on how to get through security checkpoint as fast as possible. And it's one of those things where it happens. And the funny part is that my wife and I, when we first started flying down there, I would say, okay, follow my lead. Just whatever you do, follow my lead. And because I am the kind of person that, if you've ever seen the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney, not really a great movie, to be honest with you, but he kind of demonstrates going through airports really super quickly. I'm like, that's me. Because even with all, video equipment, cameras and stuff for the kids and this, that, and the other, we can get through the checkpoint very efficiently. But not everybody has, almost 500,000 miles on American Airlines to show for it. So the thing is, you need that extra time, because those TSA checkpoints there at Orlando are kind of long, and that's because there's a lot of people, not because they're slow. There are people that say, I'll just drive there or something, and I'll get there, an hour beforehand. I'm like, okay, good luck with that. And if they do it, hey, that's great. But it just takes one slowdown in order to make your day, nightmare. When I fly for business, I'm like, I am at the airport, not just 2 hours before my flight leaves. I try to make it 2 hours before boarding.
Oh, wow.
I mean, now it's a lot, and that's just me, but you have to understand, when I fly for business, I'm very serious about making sure I don't miss my flight, because it's business.
Yeah.
My rule is that I'd rather wait on the other side of security rather than waiting on, the far end of security. Because I'll go ahead and, I'll hook into some Wi-Fi, I'll grab myself a beverage, a snack or something like that, and I'll continue to do work. And even when I'm on vacation, I'll kind of do the same thing. Yeah, following Disney's Magical Express, doing that sort of thing is also great. Some people do argue about just Disney transportation in general. That's actually one of those things where you get into the argument about whether or not you should drive to the parks or just take Disney transportation. And I don't want to have us get into that, but because I think that in itself is in its own show.
Yep.
But there are some people that complain about Disney transportation. And I think that Disney has actually gotten a lot better at communicating what to expect. They have some of these new electronic time boards at some of the different bus stops to show where, which bus is supposed to come at which times for whichever destination. We saw a lot of that more at Old Key West last summer. And I would probably say they were accurate about 90% of the time, which, taking into consideration, you're talking about a bus, you're not talking, something that has to deal with traffic or people and this, that, and the other. That's really not too bad. If it said that it was going to pick you up at 8:57, I'm looking at my watch at 8:57, somewhere between 8:56 and 8:58, and it's pulling up. And so it's not too bad. Only like once, if I'm not mistaken, only one time was it just like phenomenally late. And I still don't understand the reason what happened, but it was bad. And actually, it was a downtown Disney bus too, I might add. And I'll be honest with you, there has never been a downtown Disney bus that I think has ever been on time for me. That's just my 2 cents. Your mileage may vary. Taxes not included. Voided were prohibited by law.
No, to touch on the airport thing real quick. I have a special boarding pass through TSA.
No, aren't you special?
But you know what? All it does is get you past the first line. You're still waiting in line at, and my family doesn't have the special boarding pass through TSA. I have a special pass because of my job. I literally can drive a truck onto a runway, and I have. So they, I have FBI background checks and everything like that, so they know I'm not there to cause any issues or anything like that. But even with that pass, if I'm just traveling alone, yeah, I get past that first checkpoint. You're still sitting at the screening. That TSA pass doesn't get you past the screening option. So it can be, it can be so annoying at times. But to touch on the Disney transportation, I know we won't touch too much on it. The only thing I have to say is those bus drivers are some of the craziest drivers I've ever been in a car with. The one time I was literally sitting at the top of the bus, and there was only like 4 or 5 of us on the bus, and this guy is taking turns so fast. And mind you, if anybody, Chris, you might understand the terminology, but those buses are air brakes. They're not
Yeah.
anti-lock brakes like your car. So when you want to stop, you need to continuously pump them full of air, and that's what stops the bus. It's not like a car. And these guys are flying around the turn. The one time I said to the bus driver, I'm like, dude, you got to slow down to the turns or I'm going to start driving in a minute. And who am I? They don't know who I am or anything along the lines of that. But, like even with the monorail at times, you feel them going around bends and you're like, ooh, like you feel your stomach move a little bit. And I'm like, these dudes are in a hurry. But also, once again, that brings up to the point of you said about, if the bus says it's going to be there from 8, by 8:57, you start checking your clock at 8:56 and they're pulling up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they are pushing those buses and that transportation to the limit within safety. I'm not saying they're driving unsafe. It's just sometimes it just takes you off guard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'd say, but at the same time, I think most people complain. Well, they complain about the crowds on the bus sometimes.
Disney can't control that.
Because it can't control that. It happens. It's a way of life. There are ways around having to deal with it. We've had to deal with it with dealing with a stroller, a young child, and a child who was 10. We've done it before. It can be done. It's about managing expectations with our kids, and it actually worked out pretty well. But Disney can't control the fact that everybody tries to leave a park at the same time. You try to get some ideas on how you can make your trip more magical by planning and anticipating some things. And I know that when you're with your kids and you're trying to make the best trip possible for them, when you've got a kid that's fallen asleep on your shoulder, or it's really cranky and whatever. I understand. I'm cranky too at the end of the day sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you.
Chris is cranky right now.
I'm not cranky at all. I just ran out of tea. That's my problem. But anyway, I get hangry at the end of the day, as my wife would say. And, she's like, we'd sit at the bus stop and she'd, give me some, little bag of nuts or something or combos or something like that. Here, have a snack. Why? Because you're not yourself and you're hungry.
That Snickers bar.
Snickers bar would melt in Florida heat in her backpack, and that's just not allowed. It's bad enough having a melted Atkins bar in the back of her backpack, but that's a whole different story altogether.
Kathy, what are you doing over there?
Yeah. You make me look behind me. Here at the Gus Man Studios. But anyway, so, but yeah, you just kind of have to do some anticipation. So, but I really hope that our listeners tonight, kind of get an idea that, sometimes there are ways to be able to handle issues. And I think that there are always different ways to handle different issues. There's no one way to deal with issues. But I think, to just remember that keep it calm, keep it neat, keep it professional. Yelling and screaming does nothing but shut down the person that's on the other side of the desk. Cast members want to help you. Be reasonable with them. They'll be reasonable with you. And you're going to end up having the most magical time, even though stuff happens. And if Disney's listening and we're watching, we understand it. And I hope our guests here get that from this message as well tonight.
Yeah, it's simple, like Chris said, and like I said before, you catch more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. Look at it this way: if you were the person working at that front desk, would you want to be screamed at? For all my friends out here that are listening, that are retail or waiters and everything like that, you don't want to be yelled at. Try to look at it. Try to always put yourself in the other person's shoes. I'm not saying every time you go to Disney, everything's going to be magical and perfect to the way you would want it to be, but just know that 9 times out of 10, they are trying to do the best they can. And sometimes life just happens, like we talked about before with the hot water. It's unfortunate. Disney did not do it on purpose. Would I be frustrated? Yes. But it does happen, So Chris, any final words before we wrap this up?
No, I don't have any real final words about our topic, although thank you everybody for joining us, here downloading our podcast, joining us on Facebook Live, joining us on YouTube Live, or even just watching our video after the fact. Thank you so much for making this possible. We really appreciate everybody's support, the comments, the interaction. We're really trying to fine tune this format for everybody's enjoyment. We're actually in some discussions discussions right now about trying to get some things a little more scheduled, give you guys a little bit more heads up on where we, when we're going to be here, so that you can enjoy us anytime you can. Of course, if you have any questions, comments, ideas for the show, just give us a shout. Behind the Ears podcast at gmail.com is our email, and feel free to catch us up there. Yeah, easy for me to say. I need a drink. Email us, drop us a line over our Facebook page, send us a tweet, whatever. We'd love to hear from you guys. Give us a rundown on whatever you'd like to hear, or even ideas for the show, or even tell us how we can improve. What can we make your guest? How can we make your guest experience even better?
Yeah, so with that being said, guys, if you look down right here, you can follow that is Behind the Ears podcast.wordpress.com. That will lead you right to where you can link up for the show. You can read all the blogs. I am actually in the process. I wrote it all out. I just need to proofread because I tend to write like I speak, so I don't want to sound illiterate. So I have a nice blog post coming out tomorrow. We will have another episode coming out tomorrow. Definitely make sure we're getting on iTunes. We still have that one open spot, looking for our last winner for a rate and review over on iTunes, and just take a snap picture of it, send it any way you like it. If you know one of us personally, you want to send it to our phones, you want to send it to our business phone number, which is 321-430-2283. Once again, 321-430-2283. Even if you don't want to send it, even if you don't want to, you're not doing that, just, if you want to shoot us a message, we want to put you on the air, whatever the case is, you can definitely shoot that phone number a message. Like Chris said, Behind the Ears podcast at gmail.com. Make sure we're going over to Facebook, giving following our page, giving it a like. Once again, guys, just thank you for all the support. Looking at the numbers on both sides of the YouTube and for Facebook, very fantastic, especially for my East Coast friends over here, almost midnight. I do want to apologize for the lateness of tonight. I had a hockey game. I apologize. We got a little later start. We will fix it. But yeah, once again, thank you all so much for tuning into another episode of Behind the Ears podcast. I am Uncle Danny, and I'm signing out.
And this is Mr. Chris. Thank you again for joining us. We hope that you have a magical day. Thanks a lot, and take care.
Bye now.